let's get into it. Okay, so yeah, thanks again everybody for joining. Just high level, how this AMA is going to work today is we want this to be a bit more conversational. We want to get feedback from you guys. We'll bring up a ton of you on stage and just we want to answer some hard questions too. So the idea is we've been getting a lot of user feedback lately, and we're realizing how powerful of a tool it is and how silly it would be to not be utilizing you guys more. You guys all have a stake in the ecosystem. You guys all feel like you're a part of this, and you guys have a lot of good ideas to make this ecosystem better. So that's the huge advantage we have building in Web3 and building with the community versus other games. Other games, what they do is they build for a year without showing anybody the game besides a few testers, maybe a dozen or so play testers, and they're taking huge bets on what's going to work and what's not. The interesting thing about us is we're in a really awesome position where we have a community and we can actually be building and growing with you guys. You guys kind of have a better feel more than us sometimes about what can make the game really work and what can make the game just a better experience overall. So, we kind of want to use this time, not necessarily as an AMA, but honestly more as an AMA to you guys. Can we ask you guys the right questions to help us make the game better? Um, we do our best. And a lot of the decisions that we're making are, pretty thought out. There's just so many different trade-offs you have to make when building a game like this. And we're trying to optimize to make sure that this game is one, being played by as many people as possible. Which two, we think will bring, benefits to everybody who has a stake in this ecosystem. And then three, trying to, maintain the health and longevity of the game as well too. Just making it as fun as possible as well. So, these decisions are so, multifaceted. Anytime you make one decision in this space, it affects eight different other things. And it's pretty fun to, be in the decision making space or be able to make these decisions. But yeah, sometimes when we make a decision, you guys don't always get to see, the other decisions we had to make that lead up to this, and all the different trade offs we're thinking about the long term too. So we plan on bringing a lot of you guys up. Again, getting your feedback extremely valuable, and it'd be silly for us to not. So yeah, I'm just going to start off giving you guys a quick little update on where we're at, what our metrics are looking like, what's exciting us lately, and then we can go and open this up into questions. So again, Pixels is a month old as of like 3 days ago, and we gathered a ton of awesome data. We released the blockchain-backed alpha of our game on November 18th, and since then we've seen about like 10 to 15,000 daily active users, about 43,000 weekly active users, and 86,000 monthly active users. The 86,000 monthly active users puts us in about like a top 10 spot in blockchain gaming, which is super exciting. Yeah, we think those are pretty good numbers for where we're at right now. And just note that we haven't introduced any of the Web3 growth that we intend to. So if you guys, followed us in October, right, we blew up because we are all about product-driven growth. We're all about, introducing new ways to grow with Web3. And we kind of think that's what the benefit of Web3 gaming is. It's a really interesting new way to acquire customers where we can incentivize our community to help us grow. You guys have a stake in the ecosystem, which kind of gives you that further incentive than it would in the game. It's just Web 2, and then it achieves really really high K factors for that reason. That's how we grew so large in the play to airdrop that we did, and we actually think that we can implement a system that kind of creates that level of growth in a sustainable way, in a long term way as well. When we turn that back on, so expect us to add back on referral programs. Expect us to add back on token incentives to share when the Pixel token comes out, and we think that'll drive a lot of growth. So all these numbers that we're having right now, we think it's generally for the game, which is great. And we're seeing the retention metrics we want to as well, without these token incentives to grow. So the whole intention was we release this game, we get feedback, we see what the game is looking like, what it's playing like, balance it out, and then add on that growth. So that's all coming back, but we want to make sure the base layer was there first. So again, we're seeing about like 10 to 15K DAU, 43K weekly active users, and 86K MAU. Top 10 blockchain game without really turning on any of the stuff that would drive the blockchain gaming audience. Our retention, it's looking a lot better than we had expected, and our curve flattens really nicely. That was the one thing that we were really looking at closely to determine, hey, did we make a fun game? It's funny because Web2 gaming is such a science at this point where, people kind of have figured out, okay, if you get a game with these retention metrics, this amount of playtime, you're going to be able to acquire customers for this amount of money. you're going to be able to get like an LTV, a lifetime value out of a customer with a certain amount of money. Web3 gaming looks a bit different in terms of CAC, in terms of lifetime value out of a user, in terms of how you think about building a game. But we think that in order to really stay here in the long term, we need to match up to the Web2 games in terms of retention and playtime. And we're actually there, which is surprising to me because I thought it would have to be a bit of work to optimize our retention to make sure that our funnels were right. But our retention numbers are looking pretty good. Our day one is a bit lower than industry average, but that's something that we can work on. But then our day 7, day 28, our curve flattens really, really well. So our day one retention is sitting, if this means anything to you guys at all. It might not, but our day one retention is about 31.89%. But then our D3 retention is 28.3%, and our D7 is 23.61, and our D28 retention is 13.09%. So that's actually above industry standards for day 7 and day 28 retention, which is really, really good. And then if we optimize our D1 retention, that D7 and our D28 retention will also increase significantly. So all that being said, our retention looks like it's in a good spot where it's actually standing up to Web2 games and it's actually better in terms of D7 and D28. So that puts us in a really good spot where we're actually more confident to grow and to kind of, put the fire onto, customer acquisition or, new growth channels as well. So exciting stuff there. Really, really good initial signals. Then we start to add token incentives for things like sharing and token incentives to stay retentive too. We expect to see both of those numbers increase as well. And just if you're into analytics or like into those numbers, the initiating event for the retention, what we're tracking is, you have to start our tutorial quest. And then the number that we're tracking for people coming back every single day, that retentive metric, is you have to plant a crop. So it's even, higher activation than just visiting a page once a day. Um, then, okay, let's talk about the economy a bit too. So we have a live game economy forming, if you noticed. Berries intend to be a really inflationary currency. We've been very upfront that, it's not intended to hold a ton of value. But the lessons that we're learning from Berry have been extremely valuable. And, we've seen an interesting gray market form around Berry too, which is kind of giving us an idea of how it's going to get priced if we add liquidity to it and, how our in-game economy is getting balanced. So we introduced peer-to-peer trading about a week and a half ago, which is crazy because it doesn't feel like that long ago. And we're seeing Berry get priced on these gray markets. We haven't endorsed any Berry trading, but it's happening, which is cool. So there is a real world value that some people are attaching to this in-game currency that we created. Right now, it looks like um, this currency is mostly being bought to progress in game as well, which is great. That's what we want to see. It doesn't seem like there's too much speculation around this currency. Obviously, it's in the ERC20. That might happen a bit, but overall, we feel pretty confident, or at least have like a level of confidence where we haven't introduced this giant speculative market. We feel like this is probably the real value of the currency, which is exactly what we want to see. Um, right now, we're seeing a decent amount of liquidity for Berry and for in-game items. Um, Again, great to see that. And then in terms of supply and burn, so we're generating about 2 million Berry per day, it looks like. If you want to attach like a real world value to that, you can do the math based on where you see it's trading right now. And then we're burning a decent amount, but we're not burning as much as we would like. So that's one thing that we want to focus on coming into the new year. Like, how can we get people burning more Berry? And how can we, create, compelling sinks for this? Once we kind of establish this, then that's when we move on to Pixel, and that's when we move on to providing a bit of liquidity for Berry as well too. If we go into that direction. Um, wait, that. So the current circulating supply of Berry, it looks like it's about like 90 million. If you were to price the market cap, it's not bad. Um, I think it is actually a pretty good reflection of current prices in game. If you were to look at the number of users that we have and then where the market cap is sitting, we're sitting at just about what you would expect a normal Web2 game to have a market cap of, like how much they would monetize off of their users in the spot. So again, we're trying to build an economy that isn't you know propped up by speculation and more propped up by real world value that you actually get from these in-game items. Like, okay, I have this, clay. What's this clay actually worth to me in terms of entertainment, in terms of progressing the game, all of that too. So that's been the focus, and so far, looking very good and very positive. But yeah, current burn a bit lower than we would want. Our main in-game sync right now is decorations. We've seen some promise with these new decorations that we're creating. I think like 50 or 60 people bought a Christmas tree for like 75,000 berry. I think if you were to price that Christmas tree, that's like a $25 Christmas tree then. And seeing that many people buy that, pretty interesting. We've been playing a lot with different prices in stores to kind of see where the value of these decorations actually lie. There's a lot of cool stuff that you can do with economics in terms of seeing, price elasticity of decorations. I've been running a ton of experiments on that, kind of pricing in or adding a bunch of different decorations to the store to see where they lie and see how people actually value them. So these are things that you know I don't like to call you guys guinea pigs, but you guys have been guinea pigs for us to kind of really prep this right as we move to prep the pixel token. So this is super valuable to us. This gives us so much more data so that the guesswork is removed on this token that we're going to be launching. And just an update on Pixel, it looks like we're going to be launching that anywhere from, it looks like late February to early March is the right time to do it for us, where we're at with game design. And where we're at with what utility we can actually launch for Pixel on day one. Again, it's really important to us that we have Pixel um, have utility on day one. We don't want speculation around it when we drop it. So the more mechanics we have actually built out to use Pixel, the better. But overall, when we're talking about economics, the data that you guys have been giving us have been extremely valuable. We think this is going to make the token launch for Pixel go much smoother. You've seen us make some mistakes when it comes to the berry token, and then there's also lessons that we're learning too, especially when it comes to things like botting or multi-accounting, all of that. The lessons that we're learning and how to kind of stop that are going to help the Pixel launch go much smoother. At the end of the day, what we want is we want the token to end up in people's hands that actually play our game and actually care about the ecosystem. We don't want it going to bot farms. We don't want it going to abusers. We want the token to be getting spent in a way that benefits everybody. So we're trying to be as protective as possible to our most loyal players. And when we're thinking about the token too, that's the entire thing that we're thinking about. We're really protective of the people who are playing our game. We care about you guys a lot. We don't care about people abusing the token as much. So when we're making decisions, we're always going to be thinking about our actual players who like to play the game and who have been in this ecosystem for a long time. That will be the priority over the other things. And we think if we focus on this, if we focus on building a fun experience first, the other stuff will come. Let's go a bit more into the I'd like a few more points I want to touch on. So growth. Yeah, you guys saw that we had that Coinbase partnership. We're really excited about that one. And they've been excited about us too. You guys have shown Coinbase a ton of support. They've reached back out to me being like, wow, people love pixels. So we're really excited for that. Just having a partnership with Coinbase opens up more partnerships for us in the future too. There's a lot that we got from that, and we're really excited about it. I just want to make it also clear though, Coinbase did not pay us any money to do this cross promotion with them. It wasn't sponsored by Coinbase. It was essentially co-marketing that we did. It's funny because I couldn't believe some people were flooding that, but I guess that just goes to show that nobody's going to be happy with everything that you guys do in this space, and you just got to kind of roll with the punches too. But that went really well. We saw a lot of new users coming in from them, and it just also puts us in a stronger position to do more biz dev in the future too. It's like, okay, hey, we've worked with this partner before, and it's obviously a great one to work with. It opens up opportunities moving forward as well. So overall, very happy with how that promotion went. I think both communities got a lot out of it, and I think it was a pretty good fit in terms of all of that. We've also signed some more LOIs from the platform that we're building too. So if you guys aren't familiar, Pixels, we're building a game, right? But then we're also building a platform for other games to build on top of. We've signed a few more LOIs for that too. So the Pixels ecosystem is going to get larger. Not just Pixels, not just Gridcraft, not just New Cyber, but there's a few other projects that'll be coming on as well too. We're really excited about them. And then, okay, let's go a bit into roadmap too. So in terms of roadmap, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 things that we're focused on in the terms of like the next 2 months essentially. So one is opening the withdraw and deposit of Berry from our custodial system. The current tech is ready to do so, but we want to get over a few. We want to get control over a few aspects of our economics at first. The idea is we want to make sure that we're really on top of the botting and multi-accounting before we open up the withdraw and deposit of Berry. That will just make the ecosystem stronger for everybody, and especially for the real players of the game. If we open up withdraw and deposit before this, then it's going to just hurt everybody. And again, our priority is making sure that the real players of our game are given preference and are taken care of essentially. So we're doing a lot of banning of bots and multi-accounters, but they are quick. So we're trying to get on top of that, make sure that's under control. We have a few different ideas around that, and we would also love to get your feedback when we open up questions in the AMA on what you guys think about this stuff. Again, this is supposed to be an open dialogue, kind of getting feedback from you guys on, what we're doing, and kind of also running ideas around you guys too. This is an announcement that we're doing right now. This is an update, but then after we open up for questions, it's also going to be more of a dialogue where we're just going to throw out some ideas and kind of get feedback on them as well too. So not everything that we're going to be saying in this AMA, even though it's recorded, is strictly an announcement. Some of these things that we're going to be suggesting are just suggestions that we're thinking and we want to get feedback from you guys on. Just to note that. So then, okay, yeah, after we open, withdraw, and deposit the berry, we're also focused on more berry sinks. We have a few ideas around this. One, decorations right now are the main sink we've implemented into the game. We also like the idea of auctions coming into the game as well. We think that actually might price some of the things like new industries or rare limited time decorations a bit more accurately and just burn more berry. And I just want to emphasize again to all of you that we don't make money off of berry. Anytime that we try to sink it, it's really with you guys in mind. We think that making the game more balanced and making the game more fair in terms of removing bots, all of that will make the game more fun. So when we're thinking about this kind of stuff, it's really with all of you in mind. It's not anything greedy that we're doing. We just want to make the game feel better for all of you guys. And then after more berry sinks, we're also prepping a secondary loop. We'll get into that a bit more. We want to get more content into the game, so we really think that what some of the game missing right now is things like quest, things like new areas, new asset packs. So the team is working on getting those ready as well too. Ideally, we launch some larger style quests in January and February, more campaign style quests. So we've been working on that. We've been working on ways to make that process a bit quicker too. I I'm the most annoying internally right now, where I'm so focused on AI driven content generation. But yeah, we also have some stuff with Gridcraft and New Cyber. They're implementing Quest in their ecosystem too. We'll have more content coming out to all of you. Then a few other things. Yeah, the platform is growing. We plan to launch Gridcraft and New Cyber really soon. The devs are just putting the final touches on that now. We've been integrating their NFT lands, so the Gridcraft plots and the New Cyber apartments have been getting actually built and implemented into our engine. We're on the final touches of that and putting it all together. I'll share a screenshot of it soon. It looks really cool now. We've even created like a new UI specifically for Gridcraft and specifically for New Cyber. Um, yeah, we'll spoil a bit. I don't know if anybody on our team has it right now, but if not, we'll post that shortly after. And then, okay, yeah, product driven growth too. So that'll be the next thing that we work on in the next 2 months. So we want to add back a lot of the incentivization that we created that helped us grow. Things like the referral program, things like that. Essentially, the airdrop dashboard in a sustainable and continuous way. So we think that'll increase our K factors a lot. And if you guys don't know what a K factor is, I keep talking like in all this technical growth terminology a lot. A K factor is essentially a measure of how viral your product is. Um, it's a really important stat to track in gaming. Farmville, I'm so obsessed with Farmville, was a really good example of a game that had really high K factors due to being so tightly integrated into Facebook at the time. Our thesis here with Web3 gaming is that you can kind of recreate the early days of Facebook gaming and casual games with these Web3 incentive structures. So we measure our K factor internally, or at least I'm looking at it all the time. Like, okay, how are we growing, and how is this growth actually happening? Where is it coming from? Is it coming from referrals? Is it coming from Twitter? All of that too. We want to start to increase that K factor again, that virality of the game through these token incentives too. So that'll be something the team works on over the next like 2 to 3 months as well. And then any other updates? Yeah, I also added like a challenges part in our investor update that we send out to our VC investor. Like when I'm looking at challenges right now, I'm thinking about a couple different things. So one, the botting and the multi-accounting is something that we do need to get under control before we open up withdrawal and deposit. It's not something we're shying away. Most of the most Web3 games in the space have a really big issue with this. And in Web3 gaming, there's a few approaches that you can go. You can one, embrace the bots and kind of expect them to be a part of the gameplay. It's interesting. I think some games I haven't seen it yet, but I think in the future some games will kind of accept bots as being a part of the game, and actually writing a bot that's more efficient or even better will be the actual gameplay. That works in a game like Eve Online, in my mind. If you guys have ever played Eve Online, it's essentially an economy game where the game is the economy. Um, and there will be Web3 games that form like that. We kind of want to move more into a casual side of the gaming than that. So we don't love the idea of that. And for us to have a good sustainable economy, we don't want to encourage that. We want to make sure that real players feel like they have a chance, feel like they're heard, and feel like they have like stake in the game. So for us, our approach is we want to really get on top of that. I posted an announcement the other day what we're planning to do around that. It's essentially like 5 or 6 facets. It's one, the automatic detection, making sure that's much better. Um, we're working with reCAPTCHA to figure that out. Their tech is really cool. We haven't been utilizing it as much as we can, but they have detection that we can actually train, essentially feeding them in more data points of our game, and then that should make their automatic bot detection a bit more accurate. They can do things like detecting consistent pixel clicks, detecting same IP addresses, like login times, things like that. It's really interesting, their tech. It looks promising, but we can't just rely on that. The second thing is adding more in-game requirements for doing things like trading, withdrawing, making sure that people have to level up higher. Third thing is making the gameplay in certain aspects more interactive and just harder to bot in general. The fourth thing that we can be doing is adding an economic barrier to trade. And this is something that we like the idea of, and something that we want to kind of get feedback from you guys on. So if you guys have ever played Habbo Hotel, somebody brought this up to us the other day, and we actually really like that system. They have the idea of trading keys where you can either purchase them or you can um, earn them in game through like a lot of gameplay. But essentially, it's a potential economic barrier to trading game. Um, Maybe something like a $10 fee or a specific amount of berry to purchase would prevent a lot of botting in this ecosystem. Essentially, if we can make botting less economically viable or multi-accounting less economically viable. Essentially, imagine if you had to buy like a $10 key or a key that was worth like 200,000 berry that would enable trading. That's something that's interesting to us there as well. One that also is like potential value capture for us in the long term. Pixels needs to figure out how we also capture value in this ecosystem, so that we can continue to make the game and update it for all of you guys. And then that also might be an economic barrier that makes botting less efficient, or at least gives us time to um, actually find and report these bots as well. So, for example, if we were to introduce a trading key, we had it available for 100,000 berry or like $10. Your choice to purchase it in whatever currency that you wanted to. Um, we would be able to. We essentially have like $10 worth of time or $10 worth of berry generation to catch these bots before they're not economically viable. And if we were able to catch enough of these bots, in like a week or so, through our automatic detection, through player reporting, through anything else that we do, at the end of the day, we win and these bots lose, and they'll most likely be less incentivized to come into this ecosystem. So we're experimenting a lot with that kind of stuff, and expect that to come in the next like month or two as well. Essentially running experiments with this, getting feedback from all you guys on this stuff as well. So I think that's generally all I wanted to go over in terms of updates. Um, and then yeah, the rest of this AMA, we just kind of wanted to be open. We wanted to ask questions about from you guys. We'll bring up plenty of people on the stage, and um, yeah, no, thanks so much for just listening to all of that. That was a longer update than I expected. So yeah, Dom, do you want to bring on some people, or do you have any? Have you been seeing any questions in the general channel that we can go through?
Yeah, I just wanted to say there's a couple questions. Question one: when will we be able to trade items on the game market? People are trying to buy and sell on Discord. It's not optimal.
Yeah. So how we do trading in game is we kind of see it in tiers, right? So we have peer-to-peer trading right now. Eventually, what we'll probably do is we have two options. We can do an in-game marketplace, essentially making it much easier than going out of our game to trade and transact. Something like the Grand Exchange or something like our own white label OpenSea inside of the game. The other thing that we like the idea of, and we built the tech in a way that would eventually support this, is player owned stores. That might be more interesting to us than an open marketplace because the cool thing about the Web3 stuff is once we allow the withdraw and deposit of NFTs, you can actually put these NFTs that we give you guys onto existing marketplaces like OpenSea or something else. So that opens up options there essentially. So yeah, expect that's something that we would love feedback from you guys on too, because there's two different ways that we can go with it. If you guys think that player-owned stores are better, like having a store that you could put on your own land versus a large marketplace, um, let us know. Um, what we like is honestly less liquidity early on because we think that rewards more active players. Like for example, the peer-to-peer trading right now. It's not the most efficient means of trading, but that means that the people who are willing to put in the work to do the trading probably do a bit better than the people who aren't as available, which is a good aligned incentive early on.
Not in demand. Are you willing to add more minor utilities? I feel like this question is like, I think it's an obvious yes. Um, just patience, patience.
Yeah, so what's cool about our setup and our ecosystem too is the content's gonna be the easiest thing to start adding eventually. We're getting better and better at adding content, but it's gonna take us a bit to flow into it essentially. So if you noticed, we've released a lot of new industries really quickly. And every single time that we add new industry, we learn a bit more about, how exactly to balance it, how to add in this new content, all of that too. So part of it's gonna be content driven, right? Things just like adding new resources, adding new items that use all these resources. And then part of it's like, okay, we actually need to start building out new utility and new things that you can actually do with these resources. In any game like this, though, there always are, cheaper resources. Um, like how we like to frame it right now is essentially you guys are all farming like goblins in RuneScape. This is the very beginning of a game that's gonna be much larger and much bigger. Um, this is like this is the very initial part of the game essentially, right? So it's cool that you guys get to grow with us. But yeah, eventually the resources that you guys are using right now will probably be the more beginner oriented resources.
So another question: um, will there be any mini games in the game? I feel like we get this question asked many times. The answer is yes for that one. Um, but is there going to be something that's PvP related or maybe even a ranking system within those games? You thought about that?
Yeah, totally. So we're interested in adding white label mini games early on. We used to do that in our old product actually. So if you guys aren't familiar, we actually used to be a virtual spaces platform. We had a ton of mini games built into the game. I actually wrote a few of them myself, and then we white labeled a few mini games. We're gonna look into adding those back because that's relatively low dev touch for us. It's something where you can just put like a tiny bit of funding into it and get potentially really nice returns out of just making the game a bit more varied, a bit more interactive early on too. And then I don't know if you guys saw the news with Gridcraft, but they're already doing something like that as well. They're partnering with this really cool company where essentially they were getting white labeled games as well that are kind of Atari, um, that are licensed from Atari IP. And they have a few other games that are getting built out too. So Gridcraft's already been kind of doing the work on the biz dev side of things of getting actual like well-known mini games integrated into their ecosystem. And then that tech that we're building out to help them do that will also obviously be able to be transferred into Pixels, where we can add mini games too. I personally love the idea of adding mini games in front of um, the industries just to make them a bit more interactive. And then one thing that we did before too in the tech was um, we used to have a couple mini games like tag that were just kind of built into the game engine. We also had like kind of an Among Us like clone built in the game too. That's something that we might consider adding back. One thing that the team I think has realized is the social layer that we built is really strong. Um, like it's crazy how many of you guys I know um, in this Discord. And that's actually probably a large reason why our game is so retentive right now because we've built a pretty good community. And we want to make that stronger. So we're probably leaning a bit more into those features that we used to have as well. It's funny because I was so not bullish on virtual spaces for a little bit because we had been building virtual spaces and we saw how little they got used. But I think now we have an interesting base where we have this game mechanic that is retentive. Where if we add back those social features, that might be a pretty cool way to make the product even more retentive than it was now.
So another question. I'm gonna skip to this one. What is the plan for the Aviary or Apiary, I believe, and that was released via Coinbase? Will there be an opportunity to build through blueprints? Will it be maxed at 100?
Yeah, so we like the idea of introducing more scarce industries. This is one of the things that I would love to get some discussion from you guys on. Is how you guys think that you see industries working out. I personally like the idea of many industries and like relative scarcity of the industries too. One key thing that we've heard from you guys is that we you guys are concerned that a lot of the top farms are becoming almost like a monopoly. And how do we encourage you guys to travel and experience more farms? My take and my hypothesis here is that if we add more industries that kind of make players need to go to more farms in order to get all the resources they need to, that will probably increase discoverability a bit. That will probably increase the amount of farms that are getting, players attached to. So there's two ways that we can go essentially with these industries. We can go horizontally or we could go vertically and make these industries more interactive, add more resources for developing out the industry more. My general thought is probably horizontal is the early move that we should be doing, and then focusing on vertically layering these industries.
Will there?
So for the
Oh,
apiary,
my
yeah,
bad. My bad.
yeah, okay, yeah. For the apiary, we're gonna be releasing the queen bees. It's looking like probably early January, like probably first week of January. Um, the team is taking like a little bit of a breather for this week. It's funny we said we were gonna do that after chapter one. After chapter one, we went straight into live ops, getting the game ready for all of you guys. The team is still not really taking the breath it needs to after releasing that, and I can't emphasize enough how much of a team effort it was to get chapter one released as quickly as we did. I just need you guys to remember, like we released the whole entire game, MMORPG, multiplayer, blockchain backed in less than a year from starting Pixels, and that only happened because of an incredible amount of energy and effort put by the team. This team works really hard. I think we work pretty smart too, but um, it was just also sheer brute force of getting it out as well. So the idea is we want the team to be really rested and come back, kicking again in January. But yeah, we just need like a breath this week essentially, and we thought this was a good week to do it. So expect the Queen Bees and the rest of the content for the Apiary to come out, probably first week of January.
Next question. Are there any plans for a story mode with the progression of a story? For example, chapter 1 has a set of 20 quests that tell you a story while you work your way through them.
Yeah, we love that idea. So it's funny. We're trying to organize and like get all this together. Content's the biggest blocker right now, so we're always thinking about ways that we can kind of make sure that we're not the blocker in terms of content. You guys submitting quests, we love that. That really helps us. It's funny. It might be a sign of burnout from the team, and that's why we're taking some time to breathe. But we've become worse at generating ideas for things like quests. So the really cool thing about having you guys is you guys all have really good ideas in terms of content. We read through all of that. I literally go through all the feedback that you guys submit, all the quest ideas, all the bug reports. I'm reading those every single day. Tyler is too. I know that. It's really really valuable for us, and it makes the game better too. So keep submitting that because we do read that and we do look at those a lot.
Yeah, I can confirm we're going through it. So if you go to our help center and click on the messenger in the bottom right corner, there's some forms there of like quest. You can submit quests, you can submit industry ideas. If you don't see us release them like within like a few days, that doesn't mean it's not happening. It just means that we might be not working as hard right now. But I can promise you, after these holidays, we're going to come back in January with like we're a strong team that really knows how to work together now, and we have like processes that, and we have the foundation with our tooling that we're going to be able to do a lot of this stuff faster. So keep the
Yeah.
ideas coming.
Okay, be nice and gentle with yourself. When we say we're not working as hard, that means I think the team's been, still averaging like probably over 40 hours a week. Even in this like lesser time right now, it was like 100-hour weeks for a minute for a lot of the team there. We were all staying together in Seattle and stuff like that. So that's great. We all had a fun time doing it, but that's not sustainable either. So expect the team to get back and really on top of things coming new year, really fresh, all that too. So we're excited for that.
So will there be new sprites created to make industry slash character animations more interactive in the future?
Um, the new sprites for characters probably I would love to say yes, but realistically, so we don't like overpromise. That's a huge investment in terms of doing that for all the NFT integrations that we've done. We're thinking about other ways that we can make things like that interactive. Like for example, um, I love the idea of getting mounts or vehicles in the game. Um, I like that idea better because you can just cut off the legs of a lot of these animations that we've done, and we could probably get mounts and like interesting gameplay through those things. So we'll probably leave the character animations the way that they are. We've also been talking about different effects that we can add to these characters that don't change the animations. Like for example, we would love to sell clothing and stuff for the NFTs, but like for the NFT integrations that we've done, but how do you put a hat on a lazy lion and a pixel beast and a kaiju king and a llama? It's impossible. So we have to think about other ways to kind of make those look better. We like the idea of character effects. Like if you guys ever played Halo, um they had like character effects around the helmets, like the pestilence one. There were like flies buzzing around, like it looked like a swamp, or um, like there was like lightning around one of the helmets too, or hearts. So we'll probably start to implement things like that. We think those are interesting berry syncs as well. Another interesting berry sync is like buying new inventory spaces, buying new bookmarks. So those are the things we'll be starting to implement as well really soon too. Next 2 months most likely.
Okay, so this one's a little bit long. The energy mechanic is similar to Stardew Valley essentially. So far, I've not been able to keep up the energy filled enough to continue farming and woodcutting. Maybe that's a part on my end. For how much playtime per day do you aim with this energy mechanic? What's your general opinion of the current state of players that are able to keep their energy filled and how much playtime they get out of it? Thank you.
Yeah, it looks like it's about where we want it to be right now. Like a medium playtime of over 10 minutes would be the ideal situation. This is a casual game, so we don't want to burn people out on the game. It's a really tricky balance in the game design side of things of making a game that is getting people coming back multiple times a day, and then also not burning people out too. So to me, it actually is looking like the energy mechanic is probably balanced in a decent enough way. But then when we're thinking about the day one, that's an interesting thing too. So our day one retention, like I said, it's sitting at about um 30.1 or 31.89%. Getting very drilled in there. We want to get our day one retention up to 40%. That first player experience is really important. And if you're, blocked by energy on the first day, you might not come back too. So in terms of our day 7 and day 28 retention, it's looking like it balances pretty well and people are able to play enough and feel compelled enough to come back multiple times in a row after they get past that first day. But yeah, making sure that first day experience is really friendly to new people is a tough balance too. So I would say right now the energy is probably about where we want it at. What's interesting is if you really like the game, you could go and buy more berry from other players and buy new food and stuff too. So um, it's probably sitting at where we want for the average player. But obviously, in any game like this, there will be whales who want to get further quicker. And that's the interesting thing about the econ that we've created right now, where there is a live economy right now for um, food, for other things like that as well. It's not run by us, but it's there if you wanted to get it.
This question's, I'm only going to take two more questions, and this one is hinted at landowners. Are there any plans for any airdrops for landowners in the future here?
Yeah, so do remember, landowners made up about 40% of the distribution for all the play to airdrop stuff that we're doing. Like, we are giving you guys a lot. And that applies to the pixel token as well moving forward. So, that's in our tokenomics, that's, in spreadsheets, um, we've calculated all that. Like, do remember that that's part of this. So, um, yes, and then in terms of other stuff to engage landowners, yeah, we're thinking about that as well too. Um, we have a secondary loop that'll be coming in the next like 3 months, 4 months probably. It'll start off really simple, make it progress further. But yeah, that secondary loop, I really want to evolve an airdrop style of play to that as well. I like the idea of an airdrop that requires a berry sync as well in order to unlock this secondary mechanic. So kind of giving you a reason to use this berry. And then I like the idea of also having to use that pixel token for this other thing that we're coming up with too. So the idea is essentially I want this event to happen in like 3 months. Um, I want to start working up to it and teasing it within the next month. Um, I want something that you'll have to sink and bury to on your land in order to fully unlock this other. I'm being so unspecific right now, but essentially, like we want this event to come up with like a berry sink, a pixel sink, and that to be like the next generation of what we're doing. Um, some alpha here, like it's probably going to be an NFT drop that uses these two tokens.
Right. And so the last question coming from our farmhand Ross. Um, when do you hope to be able to bring in non-Web3 players? And if I may add, is this going to come in with the mobile update?
Yeah, so what we were really trying to focus on at first was making sure that our retention numbers were in line with Web 2 games. To me, that's the biggest thing. Like, our game needs to be as fun as a Web 2 game. And, there's a lot of room to improve pixels for sure. But I think the general trend in retention that we're seeing now makes us feel like we're in a decent spot. We're still like an early access game, but I think we would stand up against early access games if they were on Steam compared to what we have right now. That's not saying the game is fully finished. That's not saying the game is like as good as it needs to be to really compete in Web 2. But I think we're on a good trajectory to get there, essentially, with people knowing what kind of game we're building and knowing what kind of state we're in right now. So the idea was we want to hit complete industry standard retention metrics before we started to make that expansion. But again, it's looking like we're almost there. Our day 7 above industry standard, our day 28 above industry standards. So if we can really tweak that day 1 retention and even that day 0 retention, making sure that people get through the entire onboarding sequence, that flow, we're probably in a good spot to start making that larger push.
All right. That's all the questions I have picked out. So
Nice. I would love to get some people up on stage.
yeah, guys, raise your hands. Let's see. Before we do that, I have one question to ask from Ross and I and other OGs. When is the OG item?
Yes, yes. Realistically, we probably won't be able to get that to people until like early January. But yeah, now we're about to start to do these other fun things too, like re-engaging with everybody that played in the play to airdrop. I want to start doing that, re-engaging with OGs, all of that. That's part of the customer acquisition that we can do, right? We have these people that are really, really hot in terms of okay, will they engage with pixels again? People that participated in the play to airdrop, people that participated in all that kind of stuff. So yeah, we that's coming soon. Just general capacity in the team is a bit down right now.
So for people to come up on stage, I'm gonna need you to right click the AMA channel, go to edit channel, permissions, and then scroll down. And then if I'm not sure if you have this permission, but scroll down to request to speak. They're gonna need to be able to raise their hands this way. So if you want to mark that with the green check mark, that way we can bring people up.
Okay, sweet. Yeah, I'll do that right now. I do on this account. We've
Perfect.
we've done a bit better on our OPSEC with um Discord. Do
And if anyone wants to reign in the new year with me at the Drunken Goose, I heard Goose might be hosting a little get together. So I know Rag Poet will be there with me.
Shout out Rag. Shout out Rag.
Yeah, Rag is always chilling in the Drunken Goose. Run farm 196 with the glizzies. I was sitting on the beach the other day and I heard, I was like kind of half asleep and this guy walks by, he's glizzies, glizzies. I look up and he was just selling real hot dogs, not
I'm gonna switch to my other account. Stall.
Okay.
if we had the capacity, I'd try to get us a ball drop at New Year's in Terra
Oh.
Villa. That'd be cool.
Yeah,
I really
there was
want
actually
roller.
a question like that.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Yeah, I'm trying to. It's hard because it really does come down to having people available, but like people have to be with their families for the holidays. Otherwise, we do all the stuff. But we're gonna be planning out our Q1 and Q2 roadmap, which because we have the foundation now of the game, we'll be able to execute a lot of this stuff faster. So keep submitting those ideas. Different new zones. I think we've been talking a little bit about some new zones, which we can get really creative with to release new content. And then, yeah, so whoever asked the question about the storyline and the quests, there's definitely a storyline starting to form. You could see some main characters, but we really haven't kicked that into high gear yet. But you could start looking around Terra Villa. Like, what's Margaret up to? She's always playing that banjo. Is she good? Yeah. I really want rollerblades for my character or skateboard. So yeah, oh yeah, well, have you tried walking from the mine to the kiln? I think we need it. No. So that's the thing is we know. So there's a lot of stuff we know about, but it's really like I know I say this every time I come on an AMA. It's like the scope and my role is managing the scope of we could have 150 requests come in, but prioritizing them and then assessing how many like resources we have available to actually do these things and how difficult they are to do. Um, so we know about a lot of this stuff, but yeah, I remember when I was 6 years old riding a Pokemon bike, and I'll never forget it. Like I need that, but we'll get that. If it's fun, you could assure that we as a team want to add those things too.
Yeah, I think a big realization
But
for me this year was like, it is. I love coming up with ideas, but like being able to execute on every single one of those ideas is just impossible. Like it just takes time.
yeah,
Everything takes time and like effort, and it's just
yeah, time, and like I look at how much we shipped. So I started in March, and then how much we shipped in the time before chapter one, and I'm like, how did we pull this off? But from the outside perspective, you might not know, but it was like when Luke said brute force, I was laughing just because I know how much we all put into this that people need a breather right now. But we're like I think about it's fun to work at a gaming company and to be a part of a gaming community because what is work versus work life balance? Like what every time I'm out in public and I see something cool, I'm like, oh, that'd be sick in pixels. Um, like I'm on the beach, I'm like, why don't we have a beach in pixels? Maybe we can have like a Hard Rock hotel in pixels. I don't know, but the ideas never stop coming. Um, so keep the industries is the interesting one for me because first of all, I find the industries are great decorations with utility. So decorations are great, but having like I know since I started here, the word utility, I've never heard the word said more in my life, but we the more that we can add of things that look really cool, but also maybe have a mini game in the front of it, or things that you can do that force you to go farm to farm and have fun on the different farms. So that stuff's coming, and it's all getting into the roadmap. But yeah, Dom, you have any other questions for me? I never get to go on these things anymore. I miss it. Pixels what?
Yeah, like in Stardew Valley. Okay, sorry guys, I messed this up. We have a lot better OPSEC on our Discord server now. Since people try to hack my account a lot, so we remove a lot of permissions from my main account, Pixel Luke, just to kind of avoid issues with that. Um, yeah, so it's a bit annoying. Sometimes I have to switch to a different account to do that kind of stuff. But yeah, for some reason I set up this channel wrong. Do you have a solution, Dom? Should we get a hangout?
At me in the chat and just let me know. I think I can bring them up that way. I can
Sweet.
invite them to speak and then they can then join.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I think we can do that.
So yeah, feel free to at me. Okay. Zako, let me find you here. Yeah, it's so much easier when they raise their hands. I just look through every single line. Okay, there we go.
I know.
Welcome, Zako.
Yeah. Hey,
How's it going?
good. You?
Doing good, doing good.
So my question is just around combat. I'm not necessarily expecting exactly when it's coming out, but my question is more revolving around like the functionality of combat in game. Will it be something that we can do as much as we want, or will it also be something that's limited to the energy system that's currently in the game?
No, I see combat when we're thinking about like high level game design and systems as a way to sync the resources a bit more. So that's something we want to have like basically you guys use all the resources that you farm to do. But we wouldn't want it limited. No, we see it more as like a really good sync. So we're also thinking about there's this game design concept, infinite game design or infinite gameplay and finite gameplay. Like finite gameplay, a really good example would be a game like The Last of Us, where you know it lasts 20 hours and that's the game. And then there's a range of gameplay in between that. We see combat and other types of games like that is like going really more on the infinite side of things, where it's not content driven; it's just a game that you can play. If we introduce combat, or when we introduce combat, it's gonna look more like it'll probably be more Pokemon style or something that's not as intense. We won't ever introduce like MOBA like mechanics probably. It's probably out of scope of what this game project will be, but we do like the idea of like turn-based combat. It's a bit easier for us to implement given our game engine, and it probably makes sense with the audience that we're going after too.
Okay, yeah, that's good information. Thanks.
And by the way, I've taken notes on everything that has been said here, so it will be remembered.
Okay, so pay to Apiary, welcome to the stage.
Hey, you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, how is it?
How's it going, guys? I just kind of had a little quick question. I don't know how much of you guys can speak on about this, but look, I know I have been pinging about a new like cooking in batches, and then somebody pinged up a idea for a blueprint for a good stove. But I was kind of just had a question: if would all the blueprints be considered an industry? Just because like let's say like if the idea goes to like build a new stove that we can cook in batches and things like that, would that be considered as an industry in the land, or would you guys have like any other plans between that? I mean,
So
besides that.
that's a great question. That's what I mean when I say like going vertical on the industries or going horizontally. So going horizontally would mean adding new industries that are like apiary, like winemaking if we ever did winemaking, hint, or like going more into like different types of resources, and then going vertically would be okay. This is like mining one, this is mining two, this is mining three. As they go and get more advanced, they're more interactive. They're maybe harder to do. They have like level requirements, but they also generate better resources. So like that's the kind of thing that we're thinking about too. Like in Stardew Valley, you can get sprinklers, right? And then you can get better and better sprinklers, and it makes the game a bit, you know, easier in a way. But then you're also focused on other things when you're that far into Stardew Valley, where at the beginning of Stardew Valley, it's like you're so focused on watering crops, but then at the end you're focused on like marriages or optimizing other things, like getting all the different crops timed right too. And we like the idea of making the gameplay more varied as you get further too. So that's some of the feedback we would love to get from you guys. If like you guys think we should go harder into the vertical side of things, really giving more depth to each of these industries, or horizontally, you guys think, oh, like yeah, get to that vertical eventually, but get more industries first.
Right. And like that, yeah, like that's definitely a really good idea. And then also like would there like kind of like my second part of the question would be would there be any blueprints that would not be considered an industry?
The way that we've been talking about industries, we even like we consider crafting tables industries right now, um, which they're kind of not, but they kind of are. We like the idea of limited blueprints, like maybe first 100 to do a quest, or even auctioning off blueprints eventually too, or requiring really high level requirements for the blueprints. Like the blueprints are something that we can have fun with as well. We even like the idea of blueprints, or sorry, unlocked crafting recipes that you can potentially buy. Like imagine if only 1,000 people could ever make like a certain in-game cooking item. Like there's some cool stuff that we can play with in terms of scarcity, for like content too. Like we're open and thinking about that kind of stuff too. Curious and what you guys think about that.
Oh, okay. And I guess this will be my last question, and then I'm done. Because I will just rephrase it. So would it like every land is like that for like a big piece of land? Would it be standard like 4 industries to the max, and that's all it's ever going to be, or would it be open to have like extra industries, or can we buy more space for more industries or things like that?
Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying there. Yeah, right now, so we want to kind of focus on making the land less monopolistic, if that makes sense. Like, we think there's a balance, right, between rewarding people who play the most and also making the game feel welcoming to people who are just coming in. And that's a tricky balance that we haven't quite figured out yet, and we're working our best on it. We see both sides of the arguments of um, rewarding the people who play it the most. And right now, it looks like the top landowners who you see as like being monopolistic, they really are just putting in a lot more time into this game than other landowners. But how do we kind of make it so that these landowners who want to re-engage with the game have an opportunity to feel like it's fair? It's a tricky balance. Right now, I think the best way to do that is to cap the industries. That way, you don't have everything on one farm. And we like the idea of making people have to, go to more farms, um, to kind of play the game as it needs to get played. So yeah, also curious in your guys' feedback on that too. Like this is exactly the kind of dialogue we want to be having with you guys on what you guys think is maybe the right call. Um, you guys have sway over how this game develops. Like I need to emphasize that again. We do these feedback, like we do these AMAs, and I'm in the Discord so much because I want to directly hear from you guys what you guys think is best. Like don't ever feel like you're stepping out of line to suggest something. Don't ever feel like you can't suggest something. It helps us and it helps you guys too. It makes the game better for everybody. So I think short term we're probably going to keep that for limit industry for the large lands so that we can kind of accomplish this goal of making it so that the lands are a bit more discoverable and you have more of a reason to go through different farms early on. But that might change in the future. That might be something that we sell for Pixel or something for Barry.
Of course, makes sense. Thank you.
Thanks so much for coming up, Cello. So, Hiker, welcome to the stage.
Hello, hello. Thank you. I am loving this AMA. I'm loving the technical information and feeling, not a VC, but feeling like I'm getting that close attention. So appreciate all this. The question I have is regards just to the silos and the quonsets on the farms and just getting a sense of where they're going. I heard you mention earlier about being able to, as an idea, being able to purchase storage. So my mind went to that would be then to like unlock the storage of the quonset, or does the quonset have a different utility? And also the silos, are they just for portions of activity that happens on my farm, or where do you see the silos? So silos and quonsets.
Yeah, so we have storage that's going to be craftable or buildable really soon. We're excited about that. That's about to release. There was a funny little tweak with that we need to make. And like there's a few game design decisions we need to make on that too. Like if you put storage on a farm, can everybody access it, or is it only your storage? We're probably leaning towards if you put chests on your farm, only you are going to be able to use those chests. We like the idea, especially for the mini land users, of having to have a reason to go back to your mini land more often, or going back to your own farm more often. Right now, you don't really have a reason to go back to your own farm if you don't have all the industries on it. We want to start adding, more in-game reasons to, see your land, and then maybe if you are at your land so often and you think your land is ugly, you'll get more decorations too. Yeah, can you speak a bit on that silo stuff too, Tyler, and the plans around that? You might have some more insight into that than me.
Yeah, so the purpose for the quonset hut we originally came out was only certain people had silos. So the quonset hut is on everyone's farm, and the silo gives you additional map storage. We do have we had craftable storage nodes, which we have. There's some things that we have to work through, just like when people remove them and what happens. I remember we launched one in the mail office, and then our own team made a mistake and removed it, but we had the tech to solve it, which was really good. So that was that was hilarious. I was freaking out by my computer, not gonna lie. I couldn't even sit there in the mail office. I was like, I can't be.
How did you why did you delete that?
Yeah, Heidi opens up a special mode on prod and says delete, and I said, why? First of all, why do we have that special mode on prod? But either way, it's cool to see that we had. So if someone goes and removes something, that we have the tech to actually provide you those things back, which was really good save. I know storage nodes, we have them coming. So that's in the roadmap. It's already been built and tested, just the final stages. And then another small thing kind of related to storage, but we're going to make soon we'll make the trash can purchasable as well. So people can actually go all the way back to Terravilla. Yeah, there's the storage is interesting right now because I know as we release more industries, having the 18 slots in your bag, it's already getting full right now. So it's probably time for us. Like people really need it. So it's also a good sync opportunity too. It's like, how much is one extra inventory slot worth to you?
Yeah,
interesting, right?
Candy cane quest, the holiday quest was painful. Trying to find 3 new spots for these candy canes.
Yeah. But you could see with our tech and like even with the Coinbase quest was like we have a lot of these little mechanics that we can reuse now. So in that one, you were able to take a mysterious box that you're given, place it on something, and have a percent chance of receiving something back. So we have a lot of these little nuanced things that we can play with, and storage is obviously one of them. So not much more to add there, but it's obviously a necessity. We feel like because we're playing the game every day. So I need it.
On too is these low touch things that we can add that open up a lot of gameplay. For example, let me try to find it. I'll post it in the general channel. But if we added like an entity or a node that you could push around, it opens up a whole new type of puzzle system that we can create. If we add an entity, if you have like pressure plate style entities where we can detect if you like push down two entities at the same time, like that's a whole nother type of puzzle we can make, like key and lock entities. So we're looking at a bunch of low touch things like that we can add that open up the gameplay experience a lot. Again, the idea of infinite games, like for example, us adding in those slabs that are colored, really low touch on our end, just to give you guys like things you can place down, but it opens up your creativity 1000x, where that's less content that we have to make, and we kind of let you guys decide, how you put these down and kind of open up your creativity too. Those are things that we're looking at as well, of like, how do we make this feel a bit more like yours, and how do you guys get to control the gameplay more in terms of like the stuff that's on your farms.
I love enabling user-generated content and those kind of things. But just back to the silos then and the quonset. So they're not for storage. They have a different utility, and if so, what utility would that be?
So currently they're currently your map storage. So the map owner currently, farm managers are collecting an additive tax on resources produced on their farm.
So there's storage that's going through there. Essentially, like if 100 pop berries are farmed, I forgot the exact number, but X% chance of that an additional pop berry going into the map storage for the owner to collect, and that storage has a cap. So the actual owner needs to go grab that, pull it out, and then do something with it. And if it sits there and someone's not playing the game and it's sitting there capped out, their storage will be capped and they won't just collect endlessly. So it is also a way to encourage players to come back to actually clear their map storage to create more space, which gives more reason to give more value to the silo, is that they don't always have to be coming back and getting more space.
Right.
So that's the utility currently.
And that's the same for the quonset and the silo. There's no distinction between the two?
The silo, the quonset hut was placed on every farm because we realized every farm needed a map storage facility. And then the silo is the additional space for the people who have the silo tray.
Oh, so a
Exactly.
person that just has a quonset has less storage than a silo.
But I do agree with you. Like as a player, like you're navigating farm to farm and you come to this big looking silo and almost everything is clickable on the farm, and then that one thing says no. Maybe there is something we can do storage wise around there.
Yeah.
I think that's something interesting.
And then also as a farm purchasable, like when you're looking at the farms and the farm traits, silo is explicitly listed out separate like a chicken coop, but the experience I get from a chicken coop is a lot different than the silo, though I didn't realize I was getting much more storage, though it's not really filled yet, but as more industry comes, more slots. But the silos.
If you were here for the peak of that play the airdrop, people's inventories were filling up every single day on the popular farms. And when we start to pick up speed with user acquisition, we'll probably see something similar again. Like it was wild when we had all these people in this ecosystem. Like the top farmers will tell you and kind of show you entire inventories were getting filled up with just like a 1 or 2% tax back then. And I'm sure
what was the draw? What was the draw for people to go to one farm over another?
Right now, it's the different industries that you have on your farm, and then what we also see is guilds working together on certain farms too. But then we want to make it so that the draw over one farm and another is one, like we love the idea of you having to form like kind of a relationship with the person's farm that you're owning or working on, and then two, right now it is like fairly flat competition wise. If you guys have any ideas on what we can do to make one farm stand out from another in terms of like the free player experience or the non NFT holder experience, would love ideas on that.
I'd love to rent out my silo for other people to store stuff.
I wrote that down. I'm writing down some stuff here.
Yeah,
but I can tell you that some farms I get welcomed by the owner every time I come. It's like, hi Tyler. It's like, oh, it's the best. You can't doesn't feel better than that. Nothing better.
So one thing that we will be adding to, this isn't much work on our end. I've been talking a lot to this product called ReNFT, but essentially it's NFT renting. Right now we have like a manager system to kind of do the sharing an NFT. If like you don't have time to manage one yourself, then you can like add a manager onto your farm. One interesting thing that we can do is we can actually probably move that experience on chain. Right now, the manager system is off chain, but we can probably add it on chain and then also have the rewards split that way too. The on chain thing is interesting to us because then we can give the managers the exact same experience as the landowners, and then it's actually less work on our end, and it's kind of a cool on chain thing to do. So the company I've been talking to is ReNFT. They do NFT renting. There's something interesting there too.
Okay, thank you very much for the time. I'll part with one quick question that you may or may not be able to answer. You gave lots of numbers on that opening part, but didn't a specific number on the burning amount? You gave the supply amounts and the burning amount. Was that intentional? And if so, that's fine. Or can you give the number on the burn of
I mean, the burn's been varying day to day. It is less than we want, I will say. I think like peak burn day, we probably burned like 30% of what we generated that day. So it's not quite where we want it yet. People are definitely sitting on berry. But yeah, it's getting better too. So that's the stuff that we'll be experimenting with as well. But yeah, the idea is, if we had it 1-to-1, obviously ideal situation. Probably not realistic either. What's cool about this kind of stuff too is you don't need to burn as much as people are holding. Since one, generally people will walk away with something in their wallet too. Like a lot of RuneScapes burn. Funny enough, it's just inactive accounts. Where there's this concept in economics, M1 and M2. M1 money is the money that's circulating really quickly. It's like the most liquid type of money. M2 typically is the money that's in savings accounts, where it's still technically in the money supply, but it's not getting accessed as much. I'm trying to figure out how we define our M1 versus our M2. Um, we'll probably come up with our own measurement on that. But then the M1 is the really important part. Like, how much M1 are we burning of the circulating supply each day? So early on, for just decorations based, and honestly, these decorations don't have utility yet. It's not a bad spot to be in, but that's definitely a focus of mine. Figuring out, okay, how do we burn more berry and like give you guys compelling reasons to do it, other than just
Yeah,
pretty things.
yeah. I mean, M2 savings. I mean, like absolutely. Like it's a form of sync. Like I've purchased lots of berry and want to get more, and I'm planning to hoard it because I have good anticipation. So holding could be a good sign of people excited about the future. So okay, thank you. I've taken enough time. I'll leave quietly here.
Good questions. No, that was great.
Thank you, Hiker.
You sir.
Natron, welcome up. Welcome up.
Hey, thank you. Can you hear me all right?
Yep.
Awesome. First of all, I really like the work that the team is doing. This is a great project. You have successfully addicted me. My question is about NFTs. What is the vetting process like? Is it do you have to have a popular NFT collection to be considered, or could I say create one unique NFT for myself and use that on the platform?
Yeah, that's funny. We have gotten the question of like one unique NFT to integrate. That's something that I'm interested in making more user facing eventually. We probably could do that with relatively low effort with some tooling, and just make that completely self-service. The reality right now, though, is these NFT integrations that we're doing, where you can, have an NFT as your avatar in game. It does require some dev effort, so there is a cost associated to us, even if you supply all the materials, all the artwork and stuff too, for us to get it in game. And the cost, honestly, it's not even monetary that we're thinking about. It's like, okay, a dev doing this takes away time from building other features, essentially. So that's like it's an opportunity cost that we're more concerned about. So if we had that completely self-service, I wouldn't mind if there were one-of-one NFTs being avatars. But right now, it's just like we do have to focus resources in, smart ways to do it. But yeah, I would say like medium term, that's something that we'll probably be interested in opening up to be completely self-service. And if you had a one-of-one NFT and want to just do the work to implement it yourself, that's definitely something I'm okay with.
Cool. Thank you. Is that a long process? Is it to integrate like one collection? How long of a just an idea of how long a process that is to get one collection in
It's really
integrated?
not that long at this point. It probably took our dev like a week to get 7 or 8 in.
Cool. Awesome. That's all I got. Thank you. Keep up the good work.
Oh, I appreciate it.
Thanks for coming up. Grumpkin, welcome to the stage.
Hey, sorry, I don't know if someone actually talked. I was busy with some work, but I was curious if drop rates were ever going to be released, because I think that would probably be fairly useful when deciding which skill that you want to level up.
Yeah, that makes sense. I honestly would have thought that people figured out the drop rates by now. Um, I'm curious. I guess Natron would know if anybody knew what the drop rates were, if we hadn't actually officially released it. That's information I actually don't mind releasing. Um, we also just kind of assume that people would eventually figure it out.
Is it true then? I know some like word has gotten around that the drop rates change per level, or is it just a flat rate? Like once you unlock it, it's just set.
Tyler?
See, that's part of the fun, like trying to figure it out. Um, there's different things we're working on. I can't say for sure that we adjust them by level, but some of the adjustments, if there has been adjustments made, have been more balance purposes. Um, there's been no level adjustments based on the drop rate.
Yeah, but
But
that is something
that would be interesting. No.
interested in. Yeah, that gives you more of an incentive to level up one account too. So it's funny because a lot of the issues that we're seeing now too, like multi-accounting, things like that, like there are just incentive structures that we can create that give people who play on one account, better odds and a better advantage too. So part of the work is one, yeah, automatic detection, all of that kind of stuff, reporting, things like that. But also, if we just create better incentive structures for you guys to play in the way that we really want you to play, that should be the ideal situation there, where it's like the optimal play is the healthiest play also.
I guess
Cool.
the drop rates kind of do adjust if you unlock a new resource that drops, then it adjusts the rate, right? So maybe that's what you guys are experiencing is like when clay becomes available, what percentage of that drop did that take? So, but yeah, I it's tough with certain things of like releasing the information. Is like first of all we have to like keep a really good grasp and overview of it all, and then how much for gameplay purposes makes it more fun to release and give you all the information versus holding some of it back and making it more strategy, community-based conversation to figure these things out. So that's
Things
something
like
that kind of like
Holiday
push and
Quest is
pull.
a great example, where at first I saw that we were gonna make you guys find 57 candy canes. I'm like, guys, what are you doing? This is insane. um, but yeah, the cool thing was some people put in the work to do that. It took me so long. I actually used the guide at the end of the day. I think I used one of the community members' guides to find all the candy canes. But yeah, some people really enjoy figuring out that information, and that's part of the gameplay to them too. So we do like the idea of letting people figure things out. That's slightly intentional in some ways.
Oh, so is it a secret or did explosives get nerfed?
What was that?
I said, is it a secret then, or did like the explosive rates get nerfed?
Let me look. I actually don't know if they got nerfed or not.
No idea. I was off last week, so
Yeah, and another
maybe.
thing too with not releasing the information, the game obviously is still in beta state, so a lot of stuff will still change with balancing and everything.
Yeah, that's not information I'm like trying to hide. So I'll look into that and kind of give you an update on what went on with that. If that did get changed or not.
Great, thanks a lot.
I think that wraps things up. Any final words?
Yeah, we can probably do one more question.
I thought Sports Trader comes on here and says "tiff out" or something every time. No,
That's
or I haven't been on here. I haven't been on here since April. So.
Yeah, that's
yeah, no,
Blues.
it's really good. Good questions, guys. We'll continue to be in Discord, just kind of going through stuff as well. Again, this is super valuable to us, getting your feedback. And we don't take any feedback or any like criticisms you guys have to heart. I mean, sometimes I do. It does get to me every now and then. But we have some thick skin. We can take some feedback. We can take some criticism, and it's helpful. We know that you guys, whenever you guys are giving us criticism, it's because you guys want to see the game better. We know that. So continue to give it. Continue to give honest feedback as well, because we'll take that and we'll actually run with it. I just want to emphasize again how much influence all of you have over this game. It's silly for us to not listen to you when you guys are literally telling us how to make the game better. You guys are playing it a lot, so continue to give that, and we'll adjust. I think you guys have at least seen, if anything, that we're able to adjust and able to take feedback pretty quickly. So I guess with all of that being said, thank you guys so much for this AMA today. Thanks for joining us. This is a pretty good one. Fun time. We might do some more on Discord too. This looks like a bit different in the crowd than we normally get. So it's good to mix it up. Next AMA, we probably won't have one next week. But we are gonna have following week. So expect the next AMA to be, what would that be? January 4th. So yeah, expect a bit slower of a week on our end next week too. I'm trying to give all the team, adequate time just to relax, take a break, so we can come into January super strong. And yeah, thanks again everybody for joining us. Really nice AMA. That Tiff out.
You too, Dom. You
RPG
too,
out.
Dom. See ya later. Bye, everybody.
RPG out.
I'm out.